string guitar. After midnight he performs on a tree branch stage. He is brave, he is outrageous, he is Ozzy the Wonder Squirrel. He will steal your heart and eat all your pecans. He loves cuddling in his fleece when bedtime comes calling. Ozzy the Wonder Squirrel, the cutest rocking squirrel in the universe. It's time to sample a buffet of Spanish slashers. So delicious, so bloody, so cut it into pieces with the edge of your axe. Create madness by the light of a bloody moon. Fill up your picnic basket with a bevy of blood and guts. Drink a glass or two of wine from a horrific fight that snakes around your ankles and slashes from behind. Time to sample a buffet of Spanish slashers. So delicious, so bloody, so Hey gang, and welcome to just something I came up with this afternoon. I wanted to talk about Spanish slashers. Well, actually, I have to give Steve credit because I was saying to him, I really want to do something this evening or tonight or whatever, and I don't know what I want to do it on. And I said, do you have any ideas? And he said, well, how about Spanish horror? And I automatically thought of Paul Nashy stuff. I was like, gee, I don't want to talk about Paul Nashy because y'all know that, I don't hate Paul Nashy, but I just am not a fan of his work, right? Because usually it's either him turning into a werewolf or him lathering himself all over some woman. And the reason why I felt like he got to do that a lot of times is because he would direct these movies. So he's a director, he can do anything he wants. Now, I'm not saying there was anything bad going on, illegal going on his sets or anything. I'm just saying Paul Nash, he's just not my kind of guy. But I think he might be considered a guy's guy. You know what I mean? He gets the ladies in the movies and all that. So, I think guys probably gravitate towards him and his escapades with the actresses in the film. And my glasses are just driving me crazy. I think I need to replace one of these nose pieces because it's sliding around like crazy. But anyway, y'all don't want to hear about that. So we're going to be talking about 3 Spanish slashers. Instead of just picking any just Spanish horror, I decided to focus on 3 Spanish slashers. And here in a little bit, in case you weren't sure, we're going to be talking about Edge of the Axe. We're going to be talking about Bloody Moon, and I had to take the slip cover off of it because it's got some nudity on it. and Pieces, the one Pierre Simone joint. So we're going to get to that here in just a little bit. Now, I know there was probably not much advance notice for this. In fact, I know there wasn't. So if we don't have too many people tonight, I'll consider it, my fault because I'm the one that schedules these things. But hopefully, if a lot of people don't watch it right now as it's live, maybe people will come in and watch it on the replay. So we're going to get to all three of those movies here in just a second. But as usual, I like to get a few housekeeping things out of the way first. And hopefully some people will come in here and want to chat. But if you don't feel comfortable chatting, it's not a requirement. It's just sometimes it's more fun if people want to get in there and chat about the movies or whatever. I haven't had many people chatting as of late, but again, that is okay. That's not a requirement for the streams. If you want to jump in there and say something about the movies, that is perfectly fine though. But to get the housekeeping stuff out of the way, I do have a watch along coming up tomorrow night, starting at 7 p.m. Eastern time. Hey, Phil, it's good to see you in here tonight. And it's going to be for Cujo, folks. And this was picked by a poll. I have a new poll up of 3 body horror movies by what I consider the king of body horror, David Cronenberg. And I believe that Videodrome is still in the lead, but let me just double check. Yeah, Videodrome, and it's followed really closely right now by The Fly from 1986, and then Shivers is trailing in 3rd place. So if you guys and gals, you thought Pieces was Italian, I feel actually, I want to say that a few years ago, or I mean several years ago, I thought that too. But it's actually a Spanish one. Interestingly enough. But I could see where it could be definitely confused with an Italian film because here's why I think, because Pieces has a lot of hallmarks of an Italian horror or gore film. It definitely has those hallmarks. And honestly, at one time, I did not think that Spanish horror films were really all that gory. Because when I was a kid, since Phil, you brought up Pieces, it reminded me of what the first time I saw Pieces, I was a kid, not a little kid, but I was a kid. And I just thought it was made in the United States way back then. I had no idea. They were telling me it was Boston. I didn't know any better. I didn't know it was dubbed, right? And and it had, I didn't really know who Christopher George was and Linda Day George and all those people. But I was pretty sure that they were American. But that was before I knew about Jumping Jack Taylor, as Steve calls him, and but I don't think Jack Taylor was Spanish. I think Jack Taylor may have been English, possibly. I may be wrong on that. But Frank Brana, he was definitely in a lot of Spanish horror films. But, I used to think Spanish horror films weren't something that I liked. And that was until I realized, oh, yeah, Pieces is a Spanish horror film. And, Bloody Moon is a Spanish horror film. And another one I'm going to talk about tonight that I didn't discover until after Steve and I were married and have been married several years, which is Edge of the Axe. But to get back to but feel free. I can't even talk. Feel free to keep chatting in there. I'm just going to try to get this. I don't have too many announcements or anything right now because I haven't got the next week's programming up. I've got to get that taken care of this weekend though. But we do have the watch along for Cujo coming up tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Eastern time. That was again chosen by poll. And make sure you, if you want to have a say so on what the next one is going to be sure you get in there and place your votes. Okay, I've got a giveaway going on for new subscribers only. Hopefully, I can have a giveaway. If I don't have any takers on this giveaway, I may be handing them out to people that are already subscribers. We'll do some kind of trivia or something like that and see, if there's not any takers on it. But because so far, I've had some new subscribers, but nobody's commenting under the giveaway to tell me, hey, I subscribed. Here's my channel name or my channel handle or my screen name. And so I'm like, okay, are people not interested in the movies? Because I actually showed the movies the last live stream I did. So if you want to check out my last live stream I did and check out the titles of the movies, maybe that'll encourage people more. Maybe they just didn't want to do like a blind subscribe and not knowing what they're getting. But hey, guys, gals, you're getting these for free and you could trade them in for something else you want more, right? I don't have to know about it. But the thing is, you're getting 5 movies for free. And all you got to do is subscribe and let me know that you've subscribed. So I'm not trying to force anybody to do it, but I'm just saying, here's a spectacular way for you to get movies in bulk here, horror movies in bulk. So I got a bunch of different kinds and all that. So I wanted to let you guys know that I've got that going on. We've got a little teaser, or I've got a little teaser for the first episode of Ozzy the Wonder Squirrel. And some of you guys and gals, adults, might be like Steve and think, why? Why are you doing this? Well, I have fun doing the animation for one thing. I have fun putting these little things together. It does take a little while because I use several different programs to do them. But I just think it's a fun thing, and it's something new that I'm getting into. I'm always trying to dip my hands in a bunch of different pots and try different things. They say idle hands are the devil's work, right? So I'm trying to be good, and I'm trying to do I'm trying to do creative things that keep my brain going and keep me out of trouble, because I do get in trouble sometimes when I don't have enough things to keep me occupied. All right, so Ozzy the Wonder Squirrel, a full episode is coming, called Ozzy Goes to the Record, or Ozzy Visits the Record Shop. The full title is actually The Adventures of Ozzy the Wonder Squirrel, and he's going to meet a lot of different characters. He lives with me. I'm a cartoon character in this, but he's going to meet a variety of characters. He's eventually going to get a girlfriend. I've already created her. These things are safe for your kids and grandkids, folks. There's not going to be any cursing or anything in them. And I know a lot of my stuff that is on my channel, it's not kid friendly, right? I'm usually on here talking about horror movies, and I'm talking about gore, and sometimes we curse on here. But Ozzy the Wonder Squirrel and future episodes of Spooky Dog and Sebastian, they don't have any of that. So adults and kids can watch them and sit there and enjoy them. I mean, it takes me back to my youth when I used to watch cartoons on TV, and me and my brother would, watch Saturday morning cartoons and stuff. So there's a little bit of nostalgia there as well. So hopefully I can get together the first episode of Ozzy the Wonder Squirrel here very shortly. Okay. But I do have a teaser up for those of you that want to check that out. what else have I got going on here? Well, I guess I could get to um, the ways that you can support me in the channel, and they don't cost you a dime. Folks, I appreciate all the super chats and super stickers and the people that want to participate in Movie Roulette, and they give a $5 or more super chat during the live stream, and they get to pick a movie for me to watch and do a review of. I appreciate all that, but I also realize that everybody's not made out of money, right? I had somebody give me over $20 super chat one night, and I was entirely grateful for that. But these are hard times for almost everybody, unless you're just filthy rich. So there are a lot of ways that won't cost you a dime that you can help me get up into the algorithms of YouTube, and also help me get to my next milestone that I want to achieve, which is 1,000 subscribers. I'm nearly there. I've got 984, I believe now. Now watch me lose. Because every time I say this, it's like, we're going to knock you down a few notches, Evil Dead Chick, and we're going to take some of your, we're going to unsubscribe. It happens almost every time I mention it. Or maybe it's fate. I don't know. But, I know I'll get there eventually. But you can subscribe. That costs you absolutely nothing, folks. Absolutely nothing. And, I'm not going to come to your house and try to minister to you, try to sell you candy bars and cookies. And now is a great time to subscribe because I've got that giveaway going. All you got to do is subscribe and tell me your channel handle or screen name in the comments under that giveaway video. That's all you got to do, folks. All you got to do. And you get to be put in a hat or jack-o'-lantern or whatever, where I'm going to pull 3 names out of that container come November 1st. And you can enter from now until October 31st at 11:59 p.m. Okay? So, and that's Eastern time, folks. So make sure, if you want to get in on the giveaway, the prize packs giveaway, make sure you get subscribed if you've not already subscribed. And I had Wes from Dead Pit Radio said, hey, what if I unsubscribe and resubscribe? He said, does that count? And I said, I guess, but I would rather, people actually get excited and want to subscribe rather than, right now. I'm not going to say no, but this is a way to try to get a few new subscribers along the way. But you can still subscribe even if you don't want to enter the contest. And that will still help me. But I've got the little extra incentive right now. Right? All right. Another way is you can hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of the new content I've got coming out. And you can hit the like button on stuff that you especially like. Heck, if you like everything, hit that like button on them all. All of those things don't cost you a dime, but they help me out and they help the channel out. Okay. And here's one other thing you can do. You can share my channel with friends and family members that you think would enjoy the content I'm putting out. That costs you nothing. That costs them nothing. And I'm going to put my channel handle, because I've recently changed it, in the chat for you guys and gals. And one last thing before we get to these movies. Be sure to head on over to deaditesondeck.com, my horror shop. Tell them Poe sent you. Poe is the official mascot of the Deadites on Deck horror shop. And Ozzy the Wonder Squirrel is the official mascot of the Deadites on Deck YouTube channel. All right. So, and RJ is the official mascot of the Movie Munchies, which I do have a Movie Munchies coming up. I know I haven't done one in a while. October the 26th, a video will drop at some point that day for Ozzy's October Burrito. So be sure to check all of this stuff out upcoming. All right, so let's get to these movies, folks, shall we? All right. So the first one I want to talk about is Edge of the Axe. This is the Arrow release that I have here. And believe it or not, folks, I had never heard of this movie prior to Steve telling me about it and actually showing me it. And he wasn't as amazed with it as I was. But this, I tell you, folks, this movie has one of the most fantastic, horrific, bloody openings I have ever seen in a horror movie. Because we have this woman who's getting ready to go through a car wash. And when she gets in the car wash, she sees a flash of this white mask here. Okay. Okay. She's like, what the heck is that? And then all of a sudden, she gets axed up in her car and blood is going everywhere. And I was like, holy cow, wow, they don't waste no time with this movie. And it slows down a little bit after that opening, but that, for a horror fan, that was and a slasher fan, that was a fantastic opening to a film. Then it becomes pretty much standard stalk and slash. The axe is still used. It's directed by, he's listed as a cult Spanish filmmaker, Jose Ramon Larraz. He also did Vampires and Symptoms. And this is considered also a long neglected 80s slasher classic. And it definitely is because, like I said, I had never even heard of this movie before. So we have this small little community called Paddock County. And somebody is axing up certain residents of this county, right? So there's a lot of, stalk and slash, chopping, body parts getting cut off and all that jazz. And Jumpin' Jack Taylor is actually in this one too. He's in Pieces, which I'm going to talk about here in a little bit. And he's also in Edge of the Axe. I believe too, the mother that gets axed up at the beginning of Pieces is in this too. So you will see a lot of those Spanish actors and actresses that have showed up in other films. But you also have, this was in the early days of computers, folks. So you had this genius kid with computers, or young person, Gerald. And he meets Lillian in Paddock County and falls for her. So she becomes his girlfriend. And they're supposed to try to figure out who is axing up the residents of Paddock County. But it's set in Northern California, but it was shot primarily in Madrid, it being a Spanish production, which it is said makes it look off kilter and all that, which I think some of it may have been filmed in Northern California, but there are definitely the bulk of it was filmed in Madrid. I didn't feel off kilter with it, but beautiful atmosphere, beautiful scenery, if you care about that at all. And I like the character of Gerald, played by Barton Fawkes. He played this character of Gerald really good, because there were certain times where I became suspicious of Gerald. And I'm not going to tell y'all who the killer is in it because I don't want to ruin it for you if you have not seen Edge of the Axe. But I became suspicious of Gerald several times because when he first shows up on his motorcycle, and checks into this, I guess it's a hotel like place, or it's cottages, I don't know, and it's run by this older man, and you get the feeling that Gerald knows him. Maybe he keeps coming to this place year after year after year. It's never, if I can remember correctly, it's never really explained. Hey, Gory Tiger, it's never really explained, does he come here? Does he come here on vacation? What's the deal with Gerald? Why does he seem to know this old man that runs the place where the cottages are? And these are kind of weird looking cottages too. Perhaps this was somewhere in Madrid, and maybe that's why it looks a little off. Maybe that's the off kilter part of it. But it's just, it's very atmospheric, it's very bloody, and I enjoyed the hell out of it. I just, from the first time watching this, I was like, how in the world have I missed this movie all these years? Right, I had seen pieces, I had seen Bloody Moon, but I'd never seen or heard of Edge of the Axe. So if you've not seen Edge of the Axe, folks, I urge you to try to find a full free version of this. I think at one time it was on Shudder. You may also be able to find it on Tubi. In fact, I'll do y'all a solid here. We'll just do a search for it, because I know that people want to know where can I watch this if I don't own this and I've never seen this. Where? And this also came out in 1988, folks. Or it was released in 1988. So apparently Prime Video, it's included with Prime. So if you have Prime, you can watch it that way. Fandor, you can watch it on there. You can watch it on Screenbox. So apparently, I think at one time it was on Shudder, but maybe it's not anymore. So I don't know why that does that. Hopefully my voice isn't breaking up. Sometimes when I open another tab or something, my signal strength goes down on here. Can't have too many tabs open when you're using StreamYard, apparently. And now it's went away. But I'm going to go ahead and give y'all a rating, or what my rating is for Edge of the Axe. And I have to give it my top rating. I'm going to give it 5 Deadites out of 5. Because I just think this is a fantastic movie. I haven't figured out yet why Steve doesn't like it very well. But I think it's fantastic. All right, so the next one is Jess Franco's Bloody Moon. And folks, I consider this the only good, competent Jess Franco movie, folks. I mean, I just have to. I'm not really into watching devil worship and orgies and stuff like that, which mostly comprise the majority of Jess Franco movies. But Bloody Moon is a pure slasher, right? And it has this fantastic scene where this chick gets her head cut off. It's not they may call it a sawmill, but it doesn't appear to be any sawmill I've ever seen or heard of before. It appears that it's like a stone cutter. But the fantastic scene, yeah, the head looks like a mannequin head after it comes off, but it's still a fantastic scene. And there are some other fantastic scenes in this as well, but that's the big one. You also have some weird stuff. So if this kind of stuff bothers you, for instance, you have a brother and sister who are a little bit too friendly with each other. That's just how I'll put it, to be discreet about it. So if that kind of stuff bothers you, you might either want to fast forward past that, or just, you know, um, walk out of the room. I don't know, whatever you want to do. But that it's few and far between when that's going on. So you have this brother and sister, Miguel, and I'm forgetting the sister's name. The movie starts out, and Miguel sees this beautiful girl, and he's got a scar on his face and stuff, and people think he's weird, but I think he looks a little bit like Brad Dourif, a little bit like young Brad Dourif, and he wants to be with this girl. But she kind of, nah, you're weird, Miguel. I don't want to get away from me, right? So he sees the girl interacting with some guy with a Mickey Mouse mask on at this party. And he somehow gets in possession of the Mickey Mouse mask. The girl thinks it's the guy she was flirting with earlier and goes to have sex with Miguel. And then when she finds out it's Miguel, it's like she panics and Miguel kills her. So Miguel gets sent away for a little while, for several years, and then he gets to come back. And slashing starts up again, and all these deaths start happening. And, of course, everybody wants to think it's Miguel, the weirdo Miguel. He's doing it. But I'll let you guys and gals, especially if you've not seen Bloody Moon, figure out who the killer is. Is it Miguel? Is it his sister? Is it someone else in the movie? We don't know, right? Well, I know, but some of you guys and gals that haven't seen it do not know. And one of the favors I like to do for you guys and gals is not to give away who the killer is in a movie that possibly some people haven't seen yet, right? There might be fans of slasher movies, just like I hadn't seen Edge of the Axe. And I would have been pissed off if somebody told me who the killer was in Edge of the Axe. I mean, my dad, I may have told this story before. My dad has done that to me numerous times, told me how a movie ended or something. And then when I said, Dad, I haven't seen this movie, he's like, oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know you hadn't seen this. And my mom even got on him a couple of times about that. But so I like to try my best, not unless I tell you, hey, there's going to be spoilers. If you haven't seen this, you might want to plug your ears, walk out of the room, put on some loud music, do whatever you got to do to prevent me from spoiling this for you. But Bloody Moon, it's crazy good fun. And yeah, it might have some bad acting and stuff like that. And for instance, there's this one scene, I always make fun of this scene. This girl, Inga, at this language school, I guess it's a language school, I guess is what you would call it. And she wants to act like she's the sex queen, that she's, slept with a bunch of guys. And for some reason, I mean, she's not bad looking, but for some reason, she can't get these guys to sleep with her. So she makes up this guy that she's sleeping with just so she will appear to be better than her friends. And there's a scene where the girls show up outside of her house or what cottage or whatever you want to call it, on the campus of the language school. And she wants the girls to think she's having wild sex with this guy that she's been telling them about. So she's in there ripping fabric and jumping on the bed and doing all kinds of things. And her friends come and see her in the window jumping on the bed and ripping up fabric and all that stuff, and they're laughing. And she said, yeah, go ahead and laugh, the phony Spanish lover, and is just carrying on like crazy. And I just always have so much fun with scenes like that because they're so over the top. And I'm going to talk a little bit about this in pieces too, um, but I think some of these Spanish directors and other foreign directors, they they and I'm not faulting them at all. I love the movies they put out, but I think they know what, um, in the case of Pieces, what American college students do, what they like, what they're into, and a lot of times they're way off. And I think the same might go for the character of Inga just being completely overblown and exaggerating everything, almost everything she does. Um, so it's a lot of fun. It's bloody. It's a slasher, and it is a Spanish slasher. And again, I will say, I will go on record saying this, that this, in my eyes, is the best and most competent Jess Franco movie out there. Because I was excited about this guy. I thought, I'm going to watch all this stuff. And then I was like, okay, what happened here? Because Bloody Moon was fantastic, but I watched Exorcism and tried to watch other stuff, and I'm like, holy cow, I don't know. This is just too way out there for me. But I'm not going to be shy about this. I'm also going to give Bloody Moon 5 deadites out of 5 because it's too much fun. Yeah, some of it's goofy and exaggerated, but overall, for a slasher film, I think it completely fits the bill on all levels. All right. So the last one I'm going to talk about tonight, as usual, I don't plan on these kind of little review things to be very long, is the coup de grace. This is Pieces, directed by Juan Pierre Simon, or J.P. Simone, as he is known and on some movies, I think. Okay, I rented this, folks, and I did not know it was a Spanish horror film, but I rented it back in the day, and it had a different cover, of course, on the VHS. I'm going to see if I can show you guys and gals. This is the cover I remember seeing for Pieces on a VHS. And this image paired with You Don't Have to Go to Texas for a Chainsaw Massacre and Pieces, it's exactly what you think it is. All three of those things ensured that I was going to rent that sucker that day. And I was not disappointed. I had so much fun with this one. And some people that don't enjoy horror movies would say, "What? Are you crazy? How in the heck did you have fun with it?" But people that like horror movies, people that like slasher movies, are going to understand that. And hopefully the people that watch my stuff are going to understand that. This is also an Arrow release that I got quite recently. And I got the big puzzle. I got the album from Waxwork Records. Steve probably thought I was crazy, but I did it anyway. And this was a few years ago. But I haven't put that puzzle together. However, I do have a puzzle from Messed Up Puzzles that's like 1,000 pieces, I think, 1,000 or 1,500, or 1,500 or 1,000. I can't remember which, but I haven't got it all put together yet. But that's the puzzle I'm putting together. But to get back to the movie, the movie starts out with a little boy putting a puzzle together, and when it zooms out, we find out, oh my gosh, he's putting together a puzzle of a naked lady, a completely naked lady. Well, his mom is smiling. She comes up behind him, and then she switches into bitch mode when she sees what he is putting together, and it's evidently a puzzle his daddy had before he went away in the military. Dozen pieces of pieces. That's right, Phil. That's exactly right. I didn't think of it that way, but yep, you are right about that. So, like I said, she goes into bitch mode and like slaps the kid around and kicks the puzzle and tells him, I'll kill you if I ever find you with this stuff again. It's like, whoa, what in the heck? Like, is this what they think mothers are like in the United States? I hope not too many mothers are like this. This is very abusive. She calls him stupid. She tells him to go get a garbage bag so they could throw all the stuff away. And he goes away to get it. And while he is supposedly getting the garbage bag, that's when she calls him stupid. She says, hurry up, stupid, and get me a bag so we could trash this stuff. Okay. So we assume the young boy is going and doing what his mommy told him to do and go and get a trash bag. No, he comes back with an axe and axes mommy up. And he axes mommy up into pieces so that when the cops show up with the neighbor, they find mommy's head in a closet and they find little Timmy crying with blood all over him, which a few seconds before, he looked like he was having a hell of a good time axing his mommy up. So he's going, mommy, mommy, big man, like somebody had broke in there and done that. And what I find hilarious is the fact that this little old woman who's the neighbor, when they open the closet door and Mrs. Reston's head's there, she's upset, but like if I saw somebody's severed head, I think I would scream and I'd be even more upset. But she goes, oh my God, Mrs. Reston. And it's like, what the heck? And then, one of the cops has to turn away and stuff. The cops seem more upset than the old lady neighbor. X-Ray, you say Pieces is one of the VHSs I rented a billion times as a kid. I think I did too. I mean, this was so much fun. People would probably think, people that are not horror fans would probably say, what are y'all, sickos? Written this a bunch of times. Yeah, Phil, she was asking for it. X-Ray, you say that and Slaughter High. Oh, yeah, Slaughter High. Slaughter High was always a fun one for me. X-Ray, you said there's a Spanish version with a different title and entirely different soundtrack. Yes, there is. You are correct on that. And believe it or not, I thought Cam was a real band because I remember, when I watched the one that most people watched in the United States, if they watched Pieces, it said music by Cam, C-A-M, all in big letters. And I was like, oh, well, Cam must be this cool band that's making this music. But I told you I was going to talk about how I guess Spanish directors thought that they knew how college students in the United States would act, what they would talk about, what they would like. There's a scene in the movie, and I find this scene hilarious too, where these students are standing around, smoking a joint, and they, one of the girls is asked if she's ever, had sex on a waterbed, and she talks about there's nothing, basically there's nothing better than, and excuse me, I'm going to use a dirty word here, than smoking pot and fucking on a waterbed. It's like what, but and it just seems so not out of character, but there may have been some college students that that's what they were doing. Um, but it just seems so funny coming out of this girl's mouth, and it being dubbed too as well. That just makes it so hilarious. Yeah, I did say the F word. I do occasionally, X-ray. um, yeah, X-ray. You say, yeah, I thought they were like goblin. Yeah, that would be the indication. Um, and X-ray, you say, I mean, it was pretty on point. They're all smoking weed and bonking each other. And one of the other funny scenes has to do with sex too, is when Kendall, played by Ian Sarah, um, he's like a ladies' man. And I'm like, why is Ian Sarah the ladies' man? I mean, he was okay looking, but every woman wanted to go to bed with him. Really? Every woman at this college apparently wanted to go to bed with Kendall. And so there's one scene where Kendall's having sex with this chick, and she's going, "Oh, Kendall!" and she's screaming out. I'm like, okay. And he says, "Will you shut up? You want to get us thrown out?" And he gets up because he hears something. He gets up and he goes to the window, and he's still naked. And she says, "Kendall, come back to bed." And she's like, just begging him to come back. It's like, what in the heck? Does this guy have a golden penis, or what? What is the deal here? I don't get it. I still don't get it, even after many years of watching this movie. Yeah, it's exactly X-ray. Kendall seemed pretty. uh, Nah, I didn't get excited by his giblets. But apparently, uh, the chick that he was in bed with did. But anyways, enough about that. But I just had to bring up two very funny scenes. But does that mean that this is not a fun film to watch? No, in fact, it enhances it, right? Plus, you have all these gory kills. You have a girl getting her arms lopped off in an elevator, just one right after another, And you have a Snoopy reporter who ends up getting a knife through the back of her head and it comes out through her mouth. That's always nice, right? You have a girl that is sawn in half. And the reason why that looks so realistic, it does look realistic, folks, is because apparently they got a pig from a slaughterhouse that was already dead, thankfully. Um, and they sliced through the pig torso with the chainsaw. This is a girl that pees her pants before she gets cut in half. And then the after effects, which leads me to another funny scene. And it's a scene that's, often quoted by people that have seen pieces one too many times, including myself, is when Linda Day George, when her character sees the carnage, she says, "Bastard!" 3 times, and each one gets even more enhanced. And I'm like, and I can't even begin to tell you how many people talk about that scene that are horror fans and have seen that. I've talked about it. Steve's talked about it. Steve even I think he recorded that, and he may have looped it years ago. As if you need to loop that. I mean, she says it 3 times, and each time it's more intense. So, folks, this is the type of movie that you would get in a friend's basement and watch and have a great time. Like, get you some pizza and stuff like that, and just go to town on this movie. Yeah, exactly, X-ray. I almost forgot about that. You said, how about when the fake Bruce Lee popped out and said he ate some bad General Tso's chicken? Yeah, he ate some bad Chinese, He said, the next thing I know, I am on the ground, or I am on ground. And this guy, thank you, X-Ray, for bringing that up. This guy was one of the Bruce Lee clones. I think it might have been Bruce Lee, but I could be wrong on that. There were several Bruce Lee clones, and I'm not up on every single bit of Bruce Lee clone lore. Steve would probably be better at that than me. X-Ray, do you know which one of the Bruce Lee clones this one was? Am I right or wrong about it being Bruce Lee? Or maybe it was Bruce Lee. I don't know. I'm forgetting my Joe Bob schooling. You know, I think Joe Bob had mentioned which one of them it was. So this one, without a doubt. Okay. So again, I'm not up on all my Bruce Lee clone lore, so forgive me if I'm wrong from time to time on that. I'm better at the horror trivia than I am Bruce Lee clone trivia. But without a doubt, I'm going to give this one 5 deadites out of 5 because this is, like I said, this is the coup de grace for me of Spanish slashers, right? And I may, if I can dig up some more Spanish slashers, these were just the main ones that came to mind for me for tonight's stream. It is definitely a classic, X-Ray. I agree with that. But I guess that is, I've been on here almost a total of an hour, 52 minutes all told. So I want to remind you guys and gals again that I have a watch along coming up tomorrow night starting at 7 p.m. Eastern time for Cujo. There's another poll up right now for body horror from the king of body horror directors, in my opinion, David Cronenberg. Videodrome is in the lead right now. If somebody wants to knock it out of the lead, get in there and vote. We've also got The Fly remake from 1986 and Shivers. So they're all three David Cronenberg films. X-Ray, you say you need to do one for Cat's Eye. Get Steve on it. Well, I will talk to him about that, X-Ray. I'm trying to get Steve to do more stuff. And guys, this is tentative, but I think I've got him, you know, I think he's getting the fever again. I think he's wanting to do more stuff on his own channel and kickstart some stuff. So keep your fingers crossed, folks, that he, you know, decides to go through with this. I'm hoping. Because he wanted to, when he stopped doing the stuff for a while, he wanted to give me his gaming computer. I said, no, Steve, don't do that because you may decide that you want to do some things, right? So I'm glad that he is kind of moving in that direction. So y'all, like I said, keep your fingers crossed. Steven's 70, gotta give him a break. Hey, he ain't even 60 yet. He just feels like he's 70. That's what it is. But anyway, I should have some new programming up for the coming week here shortly. Hopefully before the weekend's over, I'll have everything lined out for next week. Be sure to stop by the watch along if you feel so inclined and you want to watch along with Cujo. I have a link for those of you that don't have a copy of your own to watch because YouTube won't let me stream it. It would get me in trouble. And somebody that I haven't seen around in a while, maybe somebody else has seen him, is the poet. I hope I haven't fell out of favor with the poet because I haven't seen him for a little bit. But it was good to see X-Ray in here and Phil and Gory Tiger. I appreciate all you guys. And if there were some gals that were watching that weren't chatting, I thank y'all as well for tuning in tonight for this kind of impromptu stream talking about a buffet of Spanish slashers. And I guess that is it. So, as always, I'm off like a dirty shirt. This shirt ain't dirty, but I'm off like one. And I want to remind everybody, as I always do before I get off up here for the night, to be kind to one another and blaze that trail. Get out there, folks. Blast some Aussie. Try your best to live the Aussie way. And what do I mean by that? What I mean is, please don't stay stuck in the past. Get into the future. Push forward into, or get into the present, push forward into the future and never, ever give up on your dreams, folks. Have a fantastic rest of your Friday night, folks. And I'll see everybody next time. Good night, Phil. Good night, folks.